What's going on, you guys? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video. Now this Division 2 video is going to be a build video that you can use before and after this upcoming patch. Now remember, the Title 3 patch has been delayed with the raid until May, and they haven't really announced anything otherwise yet. So hopefully we'll get some news in the next day of the game. But until then, I've went ahead and altered my SMG build for you guys to use during the game now, and you'll be able to use it after the Title 3 patch has launched. The only difference is, obviously, Berserk gets a little bit of a nerf. But besides that, if you guys do enjoy this video, mash that like. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys have any questions at all about this build, go ahead and hit me up in the comment section below. Now, this is a converted SMG Chatterbox SMG build. This is a flat damage, well, actually it has crit chance and over 200k armor. And yes, it has the 11 on the firearms, so you will be able to use this and Berserk after the patch. The only difference is, obviously, Berserk will give you less damage, but, I mean, using this build with it, it's only a plus. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get into the weapons, and then I will talk about the gear. Now, I am running a converted SMG Chatterbox build, and I went ahead and threw in all my other SMGs I had in the stash to show you guys the base damage difference, so you can compare it with your build with my build and see where the difference is. But these are just some random weapons, but with this build you can see that the base damage is extremely high on all of these. But we're going to focus on the top two right here, starting with the converted SMG9. Now this is just SMG9. There are different variants, so make sure if you are trying to compare this with your converted SMG, make sure it is the SMG9. This one has 20.5k base damage, 908 RPMs, and 52 in the mag size. Talents I chose to put on here: close and personal. I chose to put this one on here basically because with this build and the amount of power, you are in people's faces a majority of the time. Sometimes you're in cover, yes, but for a majority of the time when you're getting that kill, you are up in their face, and this close and personal will proc. I was lucky enough to get Allegro on the roll, and it has Zen as the final talent. Now Zen, when equipped, resting in cover for 3 seconds removes blind and disorient status effects. Now Allegro, for you guys, 10% rate of fire, and the close and personal, killing a target within 7 meters grants 50 weapon damage for 5 seconds. Now if you guys are familiar with the latest state of the game and the talents that are getting nerfed, close and personal is not on there. So you don't have to worry about this weapon at all. Find one with close and personal and Allegro and have a good day. Now the mods I have chosen for this converted SMG9, you only get 3. Now the other variant you do get 4, but the base damage is extremely lower. So with this one you do get the up in the base damage. However, you are not able to hit that max crit chance unless you can really spec into your gear attributes. But for anyways, the optics, I've put on reflex sight. That gives you 20% critical range, and that, I believe, bumps it from 30 meters to 36. Going to the suppressor, I chose the Offspray 9 suppressor. That gives you 5% crit chance. And finally, the extended 9mm mag gives you 20 additional rounds in your mag size, and obviously it comes with a slower reload speed. Now on the Chatterbox, Chatterbox is gear score 500. Right now the base damage is at 17.2k. If you guys do remember this previous day of the game, they did say that all exotics will get a weapon damage buff. So expect this 17.2k to actually increase. So you might get one gear talent nerf, which doesn't really affect this overall build. And with that, you're also going to get an increase in weapon damage with your Chatterbox. Now, I really do enjoy having this Chatterbox as the secondary because of the Blabbermouth talent. While holstered, reloading your weapon within 5 seconds after a kill grants you a 20% rate of fire buff. This lasts for 10 seconds. So what I do is I use this converted SMG 9 with the 20.5k base damage, and I get in their face with the close and personal, kill them, proc that, proc the Blabbermouth from the Chatterbox, and all I have to do is reload real quick, and the next enemy is toast. Now for the Sidearm, I've chosen the X45. The only reason it has a pretty high base damage, but besides that, no real reason. It has Breadbasket, Jazz Hands, and Rooted. Nothing special about that. Now, before I get into the actual gear items, we can look at the gear itself. On the left-hand side, you have the overall stats. So I have 11 spec'd into firearms, 3 spec'd into defense, and 3 spec'd into skill power. That results in a 200,046 armor, 37,652 health, and 491 skill power. With that, the number one thing I would like to teach you guys within my build videos is to spot these talents while I'm going over the rest of the build. It'll make it a lot quicker for you to understand what might be wrong with your build versus mine, and you can understand where this build is going while I'm explaining it. Now you guys can see that 1, 2, 3 items have a fist that is hard hitting, damage to elites. 2 have these 3 projectile looking things right here, that's weapon damage, devastating. Right here you have the 2 axes crossing, that is berserk. And then right here you have a heart symbol with the little pulse, and that is vital, and that gives you 20% health. So again, the fist, hard hitting 15%, vital 20% health, berserk for now gives you 10% weapon damage for every 10% armor depleted. It will get cut in half, I believe, and it still doesn't really change this build. The base damage is so high on this build as it is with the crits that the berserk is just, the cherry on top. And what was the last one? Yes, devastating. The 3 projectiles, 5% weapon damage. So that is 10% weapon damage right off the bat. The hard hitting is 15% damage to elites. So you can already see 1, 2, 3, that's 45% damage to elites right there. Now going into the build, you already know that I'm spec'd into damage to elites, weapon damage, and I have berserk for that extra damage while I have low armor. I do have a 20% increase in health, but as you can see, my health is pretty low as it is. So that really doesn't help that much. Now starting off with the mask, I have a Wyvern Wear mask, 514 gear score, 20.5k on the armor. The attributes I have on this one, damage to elites and skill power. I was lucky enough to find one with 41% damage to elites. And I have hard hitting as the talent, so that gives me another 15%. So just on the mask alone, I have 56% damage to elites. Now the 123 skill power is the cap with this mask, and the Wyvern Wear brand set, I do have the entire thing unlocked. So I have 3 items. That gives me an additional 7% crit hit damage, 15% drone skill power, and 10% crit hit chance. You probably, for PvP, I would say Defender Drone, get that, block damage, and then probably, a Fixer or Assault for PvE. You don't really need Defender too much for PvE, and if you're going to use a drone, I'd probably say the Assault or the Fixer or something like that for PvE. I don't use it. I basically use the brand set to get that 10% crit chance, and I've done that. So let's move on there. Going to the backpack, again, Wyvern Wear. For this one, it's a gear score of 514, 37.5 on the armor. The attributes, crit hit chance, 3.5%, weapon damage, 6.5%, and it has a bonus armor cap at 9220. Again, the talents, hard hitting, and vital. This one does have a mod slot for a utility system mod. However, I chose to put a generic system mod in there instead, giving me an additional 6% optimal range and 10% shock resistance. Going down to the mask, or not the mask, the gloves. 515 on the gear score. They are 511 tactical gloves. Brand set, I only have 1 item, being these gloves. Gives you 5% additional protection from elites. The attributes, SMG damage and rifle damage. I went ahead and bumped the SMG damage to the cap at 6% on these gloves. And the main reason why I chose these gloves is for the devastating talent, giving you the 5% weapon damage. Now you can use different gloves with this talent, but this one, in pair with all the other gear items I have, give me that 11 on the firearms slot, and that's where you really want to hit for that Berserk. Speaking of Berserk, we'll go ahead and talk about the chest piece. This chest piece is a 515 gear score, 45.4k base armor, and it is a Sokolov Concern brand set. This gives you 10% SMG damage. Now the attributes I have on this, weapon damage, 6%, crit hit chance, 5.5%, health at 4322, and skill power 368. Now again, this does have that talent Berserk, 10% weapon damage for every 10% armor depleted. It will be nerfed a little bit with the Title 3 update. However, again, it will not really mess with this build as it is. You already have the base damage out the wazoo, and you have 200k armor. Now, this chest piece does have 1 mod slot, being a defensive system mod. I went ahead and I chose a generic system mod for this one, being only for that total armor. It gives you 4.5% total armor. So that's how I got this build up to that 200k mark, is I found a generic system mod with that total armor slot. Going down to the holster, I have a Richter and Kaiser holster. 512 on the gear score, 29.9k on the armor. Now remember, Richter and Kaiser brand set gives you 10% hazard protection, and the attribute on this holster, crit hit chance, at a whopping 14%. That is the cap, but you can find some with a little bit more. Main reason why I chose this holster is for the talent, devastating 5% weapon damage. Pretty nice. And finally, the knee pads. Wyvern wear knee pads, 514 on the gear scores, 27.1k on the armor, and the attribute on these knee pads, 6% crit hit chance, and the talent hard hitting yet again. So as you can see, there is a huge common thing within all of these attributes, being I have crit hit chance on the knee pads, holster, chest piece, crit chance on the backpack. So out of these 6 gear items, 4 of them have crit chance. I have weapon damage on 1, 2, and I believe that's it. 2 pieces I have weapon damage. SMG damage on the gloves, and a whole lot of damage to elites. So let's go ahead and go through these stats. Now, top of the stats give you the gear talents. I already went through those. Weapon talents went through those. You guys are interested in the weapon and offense tabs. Now, this is for my converted SMG 9. It has a weapon damage of 20,501. The crit hit chance just under the cap at 60, and it is sitting at 58.5. 32 on the crit damage, and 50 on the headshot damage. Range on this converted SMG 9 is 20 meters. Reload 2.2. Going into the offense tab, I know you guys are interested in that. How I got the weapon damage up so high is my all weapon damage is at 26.5%, and my SMG damage bonus is at 34%. Now, if you guys do your math on that, that is 61.5% damage bonus. 61.5. Yes. And on top of that, I have 86% damage to elites. And if that doesn't help you as much, I have 200k armor, and let's see, 491 across the board for skill power. However, 564 for the drone and 551 for the Firefly. Pretty strong build. This is for PvP, PVE, anything you guys want. It melts everything in its path. What I'm going to do with the gameplay is I'm going to make a separate video. I will release it probably tomorrow. Give you guys a chance to check out this build, and then I will show you what this build does for me personally. Now, if you guys want to use this build and you have some clips or something you want to show me, by all means, hit me up on Facebook, on Mixer, whatever it is, YouTube, you name it. You got it. But besides that, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the build video. I will hit you guys up with the gameplay video in a couple days. So if you want to watch that, by all means, it will have several clips of PvP, PvE, and everything in between. Alright, like always, you guys, Kamikazevondoom. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.